On Thanksgiving Day, a mother and her 9-year-old son were told to leave not because they did anything wrong, but because her brother didn't want to see her face. For years, Savannah stayed silent, paying their bills, saving their home until that night when silence was no longer an option. This is the true story of a woman who chose dignity over dysfunction. Would you have walked away or fought back? Tell us in the comments. I never expected the pie my son baked would be the reason we'd be told to leave our own family's Thanksgiving. The casserole was still warm in my arms, wrapped in an old kitchen towel. Liam held the pie like it was made of gold, beaming with pride, his small hands carefully balancing the tin. We stepped onto the porch of my parents' house, a place that once felt like safety. A place that lately had grown colder than any November wind. Inside the house glowed with amber lights and the smell of turkey rosemary and cinnamon. Laughter echoed from the dining room, but it dimmed the moment we walked through the door. I caught the look first, my mother's tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. My father's quick glance that darted away. Not a single greeting. No one moved to take our coats. Liam's smile faltered. A whisper floated in from the kitchen, then another. Liam leaned closer to me, uncertain. I nodded encouraging, and we moved toward the dining room. Familiar faces glanced our way and then looked through us. I noticed Evan's jacket slung over the back of the best chair. Of course he'd arrived early. Of course he'd staked his territory. He entered like a storm eyes, scanning the room, lips curled in disgust. His voice cracked the forced cheer like glass against tile. I told you if she comes, I go. I'm not spending my holiday looking at that face. He didn't point. He didn't need to. The room froze. My mother turned toward me, her voice falsely gentle, almost rehearsed. Savannah, honey. Evan just got out of a tough therapy round. He's fragile. We don't want tonight to unravel. I blinked, trying to absorb the absurdity. Liam clutched the pie tighter, his fingers denting the foil. My father stepped closer, arms crossed. Maybe it's best you go, Savannah. This family needs peace tonight. The same line he used when Evan wrecked my car and blamed me for leaving the keys out. When Evan missed court and said I'd distracted him with drama. When he punched a guy outside a bar and my parents paid the bail without question. I stood still. The casserole was growing cold. Liam tugged my sleeve and looked up at me. Did I do something wrong, Mom? My throat closed. I smiled instead. It was all I could do. No, sweetheart, I whispered, placing the pie carefully on the buffet table. You did everything right. We turned without another word. I opened the front door. The night air hit my face like truth. Behind me, no one moved. No apology, no protest. The door closed with a soft click that sounded more final than any shout could. That night, after Liam had gone to sleep, still confused, still asking questions I couldn't answer, I unlocked the filing cabinet in my bedroom. My fingers paused over the folders until I found the one I'd buried months ago. I pulled out the refinance documents, my name, my signature, my credit. I stared at the numbers in silence. The mortgage, the insurance, the roof repairs. All of it in my name. All of it. Mine. They forgot the house they live in was saved by the daughter they just kicked out. Rain tapped softly against the living room window as I sat cross-legged on the carpet, my laptop open and humming. The casserole dish from earlier sat untouched on the counter. Liam was asleep on the couch nearby, curled under the same blanket we took camping last summer. His breath was slow, steady. He hadn't asked for dinner. The apartment was quiet. Not heavy like my parents' house, just silent, simple. No expectations, no layers of unsaid things. But the weight sat in my chest anyway, dense and cold. I opened the folder I had pulled from the cabinet. The tab was labeled in sharp black ink, Parents. Inside were the refinance agreements from 3 years ago. After Dad's heart attack, the bank wouldn't consider him. Mom's credit was barely functional. Evan wasn't even mentioned. So I signed. I didn't even ask what it would cost me. The first page glared up at me, my name as primary on the mortgage. The next listed me as the only policyholder on the home insurance. I scrolled through the digital spreadsheet I'd compiled over the years, every monthly payment, every emergency repair, every roof leak. The total sat at the bottom like a quiet indictment, 82 or 346.27. I reached for my phone. Savannah, good evening, came the calm voice of Angela, my attorney. I saw your email, what's going on? I explained briefly, concisely. No tears, just facts. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, then replied, You have full legal authority to stop payment. The mortgage, insurance, utilities. All of it is in your name. You're not obligated to continue. And if I want to initiate full property control, you can? She said, There's no legal barrier, but it'll make noise. I looked at the living room light reflecting off Liam's hair. Good, I said. Let them hear it. I opened a new document and began drafting. Termination of payment. Notification of impending lien filing. A formal offer for them to reimburse my expenses within 60 days or face sale of the asset. The language was careful, surgical. Not cruel, just final. I scheduled the email to send December 1st at 9:00 a.m. and then printed the letter copies for certified delivery. I laid them out on the table, weighed down each one with a folded receipt, roof patch, plumbing fix, new water heater. I added screenshots of the text threads with my father. Thanks for covering this. Just for now, you're a lifesaver. No one had forced me. No one had thanked me either. I paused before shutting the laptop. The email draft blinked on the screen. Subject line, change in financial responsibility. I hit send. The apartment remained still. Let's see who still calls me family. I whispered and turned off the light. It took them less than 48 hours to remember who was paying their bills. The first call came early on a Sunday morning. I hadn't even poured my coffee when the phone lit up with Mom across the screen. I let it ring until voicemail picked up. 5 minutes later, she called again. And again. I answered on the fourth ring, bracing myself. Savannah Valerie sobbed, not even waiting for a hello. How could you do this? You know your father's blood pressure can't handle stress like this. The mortgage company called. They said the account's frozen. I know, I said evenly. Her breath hitched. I just don't understand. This is your family. We raised you. You're punishing us for one dinner. For one bad moment, I didn't respond. The silence stretched, filled with accusation. Then came the voice I expected more than hers. Rick called within the hour. His tone was drier, clipped. So this is what you call maturity, he said. Playing landlord with your own parents. I'm exercising my legal rights, I replied. You all made it clear I'm not welcome. I'm just making the arrangement official. You're making a mistake, he snapped, and you're dragging that boy along with you. That boy. Liam was in the bedroom drawing robots on printer paper, humming softly. I glanced at him through the open door and felt something steely settle in my chest. By Tuesday morning, it escalated. Evan's Facebook post popped up first in my email via a mutual friend who sent it with the message, You might want to see this. It was public. His profile photo had been updated to a smiling picture with our parents, probably taken last Christmas. The post read, My so-called sister has decided to evict our parents right before the holidays. She's using her kid like a shield, pretending to be the victim while destroying everything this family built. She's sick. Pray for my mom and dad. There were already over 70 likes and a thread of comments filled with half-truths, accusations, and even one. Is this the woman who never visits and always complains from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in years? Later that day, Liam's teacher, Ms. Carmen, pulled me aside when I arrived to pick him up. I just wanted to let you know, she said carefully, some other parents have mentioned seeing posts online. I didn't pry, but you might want to be aware. Her tone was kind, not judgmental. Still, the sting landed. Liam skipped out behind me, clutching his drawings. I thanked her and knotted the knot behind my ribs, tightening. That night after dinner, I was compiling screenshots, Evan's posts, the comments, timestamps into a folder labeled Defamation, December. I was halfway through annotating them when Liam came into the room holding the iPad. Mom, he asked, small voice sharp with worry. Why is Uncle Evan saying you're a monster? I looked at the screen. Evan's post had been reshared. Someone had tagged a photo of me at a company retreat and another of Liam at a school play. I put the iPad down, wrapped my arms around my son, and held him tightly. His hair smelled like strawberry shampoo, his little heart beating fast against mine. "You're not a monster," he whispered. "No, baby," I said. "I'm not." That night, I filed the first formal complaint for online harassment and unauthorized use of my and Liam's images. I submitted it with a quiet sense of purpose, not anger. There would be more to come. When the online world turned its back on me, I realized I didn't need to speak louder. I just needed to speak smarter. The fluorescent lights in the elementary hallway buzzed faintly overhead as children darted past in sneakers and zipped-up coats. I waited by the art room door, watching Liam tie his shoelaces while holding a glittery drawing of a rocket. He smiled when he saw me, but Ms. Carmen stepped forward before we could leave. "Savannah?" she said, voice hushed. "Do you have a moment?" We stepped aside just out of earshot. "I wanted to let you know." She hesitated, glancing toward Liam. "Some of the parents, they've been talking. One even requested to move their child from a shared project with Liam." My jaw clenched. Because of Evan's post, she didn't answer directly, but her silence was confirmation enough. "I'm so sorry. I've made it clear to staff that Liam should be treated with respect no matter what." I nodded, thanked her, and walked out with Liam. He skipped beside me, still humming, still innocent. But the whispers were growing teeth. At home, I logged into Facebook. Evan's post was now circulating in a local parenting group, over 400 reactions, and a thread of spiraling comments. He had added a second update. No response yet from my sister. Maybe silence means guilt. Silence had once been my armor. Growing up, it was what kept me from being accused of taking sides whenever Evan exploded. Silence let me survive their chaos, but now it only made me a target. I called Angela. "I want to issue a cease and desist," I said, opening my documents. Angela's voice was calm as ever. "You've got more than enough grounds. Libel, defamation, image misuse. All of it's solid. I'll draft it tonight. Make sure it hits hard." That night, I crafted my own message, 12 sentences. Not an essay. Not a war. Just truth. For 3 years, I paid their bills without a word. I co-signed loans. I paid insurance. I repaired their roof. I did it quietly, not for thanks, but because I believed family meant something. Last week, that same family asked me and my son to leave Thanksgiving dinner to protect someone else's feelings. And now they say I'm a monster. I won't fight with noise, but I will protect my son's name. My story matters too, and my silence ends here. I added a scanned receipt dated 8 months ago, a $1 $200 check for house repairs. Below it, a photo of the refinance agreement with my signature. I hit publish. Then I closed the laptop and made Liam hot chocolate. We played Uno until bedtime. By morning, the post had quietly taken root likes, shares, and several direct messages. One from a mom I barely knew said, "I'm sorry. I believed the wrong person." Another simply read, "Thank you for standing up." Later that evening, a single email pinged into my inbox. The subject line, "Let's talk." It was from my father. "If you're willing to talk, maybe we can work something out before you ruin everything." They said they wanted peace. What they really wanted was a return to silence on their terms. The Zoom screen flickered to life, revealing my parents seated together on their floral living room couch. The same one I'd helped them reupholster 2 summers ago. Valerie clutched a tissue in one hand, her eyes already glassy. Rick wore a button-down shirt that looked like it hadn't seen the light of day since Easter. "Savannah." He began to practice softness in his voice. "We're all family here. Let's not make this more difficult than it has to be." I sat in my small home office folders spread out around me. Legal documents, receipts, PDFs open on my desktop. I kept my voice steady. "This meeting is being recorded as confirmed by my attorney. For the record." Valerie gasped, softly, offended at the implication. "Is that really necessary?" she asked. "Yes," I said. Rick leaned forward. "Come on, sweetheart. Courts, lawyers. Do we need to go this far?" I almost laughed. I didn't choose courts or lawyers. I chose to pay for your roof, your heating system, your refinance. I did that quietly. You chose to turn me and my son away on a holiday. You chose silence. I'm simply honoring that choice on paper. Valerie dabbed her eyes. You were so harsh. You didn't even talk to us. You just cut us off. Do you think that's what family does? I pulled up a document on the screen, a breakdown of payments by date. Over 3 years, I said calmly, I paid 82 on $346.27 toward this house. Your names appear on none of the accounts. I filed the motion to assume full control of the deed. The title is already in my name. Rick's jaw tightened. So this is revenge. No, I replied. This is ownership. The alternative is I continue to subsidize people who disown me when it suits their narrative. I'm offering a compromise. I slid another PDF into the screen share. If you return $40,000 within 30 days, I will halt eviction proceedings and allow you to remain with a month-to-month rental contract. You have my word. Rick's face hardened. So now we're your tenants. Your renters? You're not my anything if the alternative is erasure? I said. Valerie's voice cracked. You're being so cold. What happened to forgiveness? I stared at her. Dad once told me, I said slowly, that forgiveness is earned, not demanded. Did you forget? The silence on their end was thick. Rick leaned in his composure, crumbling. You've always thought you were better than us. This whole savior act, you're just as manipulative as your brother says. You think using your kid makes you noble. My breath caught, but I didn't react. Valerie covered her face, sobbing. You're breaking our hearts. Then the call disconnected. No goodbye. No apology. No ownership. I sat still for a moment, listening to the hum of the computer fan. Then I opened my email, attached the final notice, and clicked send. The subject line, Notice of Property Transition, 45-day termination. No threats, just a countdown. Later that evening, as Liam was brushing his teeth, my phone buzzed. A notification. Evan had posted again, this time tagging Liam's school. Hope your kids are safe around this manipulator, it read. My name and the school's right there in the caption. I stared at it for a long moment. The gloves were off. We didn't lose a family, we lost the illusion of one. And that might be the greatest freedom of all. The last snowflake hadn't yet fallen, but peace had already settled over the quiet valley surrounding our rented cabin. A blanket of white covered the ground, tucking in the earth like a promise of something new. Inside, the fire crackled softly, throwing shadows against the pine walls. Liam sat cross-legged on a rug, building a fortress from marshmallows and toothpicks. Just a week earlier, I had stood in an empty house. The Portland property felt colder, without furniture, without voices, yet strangely lighter. Liam and I had walked from room to room. The dented hardwood in the hallway where he once chased a rubber ball. The corner of the kitchen I'd cried in after learning the roof needed replacing, and I had to dip into my emergency fund. I remember this wall, Liam said. Grandpa had a picture of a fish here. He tapped the drywall twice, then stepped away. No tears, just memory. The new tenant, a middle-aged nurse from Eugene, had met me at the front porch. She smiled as she signed the lease, already chatting about repainting the guest room in teal. I handed her the keys without ceremony. Back in the car, I asked Liam if he wanted to say goodbye. He shook his head. I don't think it was ever our house, really. I didn't correct him. Now in the cabin, the only agenda was joy. I made us grilled cheese sandwiches and we drank cocoa while watching an old animated movie. Outside, flakes began to swirl faster. Liam's face lit up as he scrambled to pull on boots and a coat. Come on, he yelled. Let's build something. We stepped into the snow. The wind was soft, carrying pine and frost. Liam rolled the base of a snowman with surprising determination, his cheeks pink, his eyes clear. I helped him shape the middle, then the top. He searched for sticks and pebbles. I handed him a carrot we'd brought just for this. What's his name? I asked, brushing snow off my gloves. New home, he grinned. Because that's what this feels like. I laughed through a sudden welling of tears. Later that night, after tucking him into bed under a plaid blanket, I checked my phone one last time. One unread message. From Evan. You tore the family apart for money. I didn't reply. I didn't even finish reading the timestamp. I blocked the number, closed the app, and turned my phone screen down on the nightstand. Then I opened my journal and wrote a single sentence. I chose peace over loyalty to pain. The fire still danced softer now, and from the bedroom I could hear Liam's breathing, slow, safe, and content. Outside, snow kept falling, but this time it didn't feel heavy. While snow quietly blanketed the cabin roof, a heavier silence had already lifted from her life. Savannah didn't just reclaim a house, she reclaimed her voice in a family that had long demanded her silence. Justice, though, delayed, arrived not with vengeance, but with certainty, etched in ink, not rage. When injustice is met with quiet resolve, even the loudest lies eventually fall quiet. Some doors must be closed for better ones to open, and sometimes peace begins with the sound of your own footsteps walking away.